of introduction. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark. I am the Managing Director of Kwelanga Training. I'm also one of the co-founders, and today I have the privilege of being your co-host on the session. I've got two guests with me, but before I introduce them, I just want to share with you a little bit about the rules today, the flow, and everything else that we're going to be doing. Today's webinar one, bye-bye from me. It's webinar one in a series of 3 in our Sales Espresso Series. And literally what we're aiming to do through the series is to equip you with some nuggets, to share some insights, and to hopefully give you a glimpse of what you can expect in our recently launched sales program, the 10 Steps to Sales Success, powered by the GC Index. So in terms of today, I want to keep the session fairly informal, quite conversational, and hopefully we can have a little bit of fun along the way. There's going to be 1 or 2 polls for you to participate in. It'll allow us to just get your thoughts, but also to give us a bit of a snapshot of the audience that we're working with through today. Right now, I'm just going to pull the presentation back up so I can walk you through the agenda and what you can expect in today's session, just before I hand over to Louis and Shan. So what will you learn from today's session? You're going to find out a little bit about the GC Index, what it is and how it is relevant in sales, why buyers choose people and not products. You're going to discover your natural probable impact through a GC quick scan. And I say probable because the GC Index is a very scientific, data-driven tool. And today we're just going to have a little bit of fun with it and see if we can land somewhere and give you a little bit of insight. Then I'm going to share with you 3 qualities that you can apply today to differentiate yourself as a salesperson, because we want to stand out in the crowd with buyers. We want people to buy from us, and we want to make sure that our unique abilities come back and come across in those conversations. And then to close off, we are going to share our training needs analysis. It's a free tool. We're very excited about it because it's very specific to sales. It covers all the areas that you will deal with as a salesperson. But what this TNA will do is give you a report and a snapshot on where your skills sit versus the products that we're offering and delivering. So with that, allow me to introduce our 2 guests this morning. Firstly, Louis. Louis's got vast sales experience over the last 20 years. In fact, in terms of training and coaching, he's worked with executive teams. He's worked with sales managers, sales leaders, sales individuals across Africa, across the US, and also Europe. He's worked with some of the biggest global businesses that we know today. So what Louis brings is some of that energy and insight into the challenges that you're bound to experience and how to best differentiate yourself as a sales individual. With him, I've got Shan, and Shan is our GC master partner in South Africa. That allows her to run accredited GC Index assessments. And GC Index is that tool that we believe is the secret ingredient that will allow you to unlock your sales superpowers. Something that's different. It's not a new tool. It's a global tool. It's been around for a couple of years now, but it's basically been used to determine how people show up and make their best impact as individuals and how they contribute to a successful team. So there we have my panel guests that will share their wisdom with you, and we're looking forward to that in a minute. But right now, Louis, before I begin with you, I want to run a poll. Stephanie, if you don't mind, you can pull up that poll, and what will happen is you'll have a little pop-up in the middle of your screen to answer this particular question. Because in a world where products, services, and information shifts fast, the differentiator is you. So the poll, the question that I'm asking is this: which qualities do you believe differentiate exceptional salespeople? You can pop your answer into that little box and hit submit. You can either use a word or a phrase, and you can answer more than once. So let me repeat that. Which qualities do you believe differentiate exceptional salespeople? And if you're having trouble with this, think back. I think we've all experienced somebody that's come across our path that's just had an amazing ability to make us feel at ease, to help us understand what it is we actually need. And they just have this charisma and everything else about them. What is it for you that you believe makes that individual an exceptional salespeople? I'm going to spend a minute or two on this particular question just to see what information we're getting, and then I'll pop back. Just want to quickly stop the sharing and see how we're doing there. Look at that, right in the middle, I see trust, trustworthy, looking good, great people, product knowledge, relationship building, communication, questioning, storytelling, honesty, service, product knowledge, absolutely. Empathetic and persistent. I mean, I think EQ is one of the core drivers of a good salesperson. And in the heart of EQ is your ability to demonstrate empathy. And that can happen in any form, in terms of listening and answering, etc. Confidence. Thank you, Yanela. Thank you for that. People love buying from confident people. Consistency. I love consistency. I think that's such an accurate one. Friendliness. Just in terms of confidence, the one thing that I've always believed delivers great confidence is planning and preparation. If you plan and prepare well and you're very clear on what you're going to do, naturally, if you have some success in that space, you develop confidence. But preparation and clarity for me are key ingredients for confidence. Awesome. How are we going there, Steph? Maybe running another 30 seconds and then we can close this poll. Is that right? I'm just taking a look at everything else that we've come up with over here. Brilliant. I'm going to give it a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we've had 66 responses, 68 now, but right in the middle, right in the heart of it is that one word, trust, and that's amazing. I love that. Okay, Steph, I think then we can close that poll. And if it's still on your screen, you'll see in the top right-hand corner of the box, there's a little X. You just click on that and that will close the screen. There we finished off with 70 responses, quite diverse. I know that when I ran this, wasn't for necessarily just trying to pick up a trend, but we do want to see if there is anything that's common in terms of qualities of exceptional salespeople. But I think you all saw it's so diverse. There's not one single quality that separates an exceptional salesperson. There are a number of different qualities. And I think that's what today's session is all about, is looking at the rich diversity that each one of us brings, our skill set, our experience, our product knowledge, and together with a couple of these insights, develop that unique differentiator that will allow people to buy from us. Louis, I want to pull up this slide that I saw. Let me find it quickly. Share my screen. And there we go. It's not this one. We finished with the poll. This one. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And I know this is something that you brought into the conversation. So tell us more.
Well, I just want to say good morning to everybody. Super excited to have you here. And thank you so much for taking the time. Mark, yeah, thank you for this. I used this specifically because when you look at that discussion around a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, it's such a negative connotation. And what happens is that we look at it from a point where we go, geez, who's the weakest link? Where's the weakest link? What's the situation? But then what happened was I sat down and I had this awakening, I can only call it. I sat down and I met this lady called Shan, and she introduced me to this thing called the GC index. But it all happened so quickly and so naturally, because what happened was that people sit down and they go, where am I missing it? Where am I not missing it? What am I doing? What am I not doing? And. But the reason is that they're not connected correctly. And this is how I actually joined Kwelanga. This is how I became part of Kwelanga. I used to run my own companies, and when I did this, I realized that I'm sitting in the wrong space. And as soon as I realized I'm sitting in the wrong space, I realized that, hey, there isn't a weakness. There's just a space that there's my weakness is somebody else's strength. And that showed me what team is all about. And so at the end of the day, a team is not only as strong as its weakest link, a team is as strong as it wants to be because of the discovery of who you are. So this is where GC Index came in. And this is where I discovered this GC Index. And guys are going to be hearing more about it now. I'm just throwing out words there right now. But this is how it literally changed my life at the tender age of 49. Changed direction. And this is something, that's why Mark said earlier on, it's such an integral part of your of a sales process, of a sales skill. So yes, so that's how I became part of Kwelanga. So it's you are not the weakest link, but we're going to help you figure out where your strengths are, and when we help you, that it's going to change your flippin' life. Get ready. All right. So I want to take the story straight into Shan. Is that okay? Shan, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Louis. So good to be with you. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
No pressure. You've set me up for.
All right, Shan, I used the word GC Index about 40 times within 30 seconds. Tell us, what is the GC Index, please?
Sure. So, Louis, the GC Index really is a unique tool at the forefront of individual and team impact development. It measures our proclivities and helps us understand individual and team impact, which provides a language and culture for individuals and teams to be potent. Now, I know a lot of you are going, what that word, proclivity, what does that mean? Don't worry, I had to Google it myself when I first heard it. And the word proclivity really is just a fancy word for our natural inclinations, or those things that we are most inclined or ignited to do. So the GC Index provides us with data about 5 fundamental proclivities that underpin the ways an individual is energized to make an impact. So the 5 proclivities, just very briefly, the game changer at their best brings possibilities that transforms the future. Our strategist is about when they're at their best, focusing and clarity, identifying patterns and trends to guide decision making. Our implementer at its best is action-oriented, shaping strategic plans for tangible outcomes. Our polisher at their best focuses on progress and continuous improvement, striving for the best possible outcomes and perfection. And the playmaker is at their best when they bring energy to fostering collaboration, cohesion, shared endeavor. They aim to get the best out of everyone.
I know we have a great picture of this. We're going to bring it up now quickly, and you can have a quick look at this, because it's a great picture of what Shan just said. When you look at these 5 different proclivities, I always say proclivities are who you are just because you're breathing. I heard somebody say that one day, and I went, "Geez, that's so." It's not what's that word that we always say? It's who you naturally are. Am I right, Shan?
Absolutely. So Louis, when you do your GC Index assessment, you'll get a score of each of these proclivities from 1 to 10. And everybody is a blend of all 5. And we know that actually everybody comes to work wanting to make an impact, wanting to be potent. So you would have noticed that I said at their best when I described each of the proclivities. And we like to refer to those as superpowers. So when I show up with my superpowers, I am showing up making an impact. I'm bringing the best version of me to the role, to my sales role, to understanding what needs to happen, when I'm approaching a particular sale.
Perfect.
So it's really important that, there are lots of tools we might be saying, oh, we've seen this before, we've done a million assessments. The GC Index is, while there are great tools out there that measure personality, behavior, strengths, the GC Index cuts through that. It takes a different approach, and it gives us a lens beyond personality and talent to focus on impact. And I think that's where it's important. It's about driving results, not about the
Correct.
type of person that you are.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, Sharon, thank you so much for that. So just quickly tell me this: how does this apply to the salesperson, to me as a salesperson? You know, why is it important to me as a salesperson to know my GC index?
So, Louis, it's important for a salesperson because when we understand our superpowers,
Yeah.
and also
Love that word.
Our proclivities can also sometimes come across in a less than positive way, and we talk about those as derailers. So when we as an individual understand these are my superpowers and these are my derailers as a salesperson, and I understand the sales process, then I start to understand which of those particular activities or parts of the sales process would I naturally, based on my proclivity, focus on, and also which of some of those things might I unconsciously ignore. And that's important because it can be detrimental in the sales process. If I'm not detail focused, I could lose a sale because of that. If I'm not looking at the bigger picture or the strategy, if I'm not doing tasks that require me to make sure that I've ticked certain boxes, and that's often because of our natural proclivities that happens.
Yeah. So now I know everybody on the screen is sitting there going, Shan, I love this proclivity word you're using. I love these 5 different areas you spoke on. Who am I? Okay, here was the slide I was talking about just now, Shan, when you explained to me quickly those spaces, and you spoke us through the strategist, game changer, playmaker. Anything else you'd like to add here?
So Louis, this slide really just takes it a little bit deeper into sales. So while I described earlier the sort of more generic style of the GC index and the 5 proclivities, obviously, the thing I love about the GC index is that it's such a super simple tool, and there are these 5 proclivities, and we can understand I'm a game changer, you're a polisher, this is why we work well together, this is why we might clash, this is what I need to draw on from a superpowers perspective. But just high level, when we look at, so a game changer in sales would potentially reimagine the pitch with bold, fresh ideas that stand out. A strategist might map the sales journey with precision, aligning to a client's bigger picture, while the implementer might execute the process step by step, looking for actionable outcomes. The polisher could perfect the pitch and follow up, making every deal flawless because of their attention to detail. And the playmaker might approach sales by building trust and connections, turning relationships into results. So there's not necessarily one good or bad, no or right or wrong approach. It's about what is my most natural approach and how can I leverage that? How can I use that to make me a really impactful salesperson?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sorry. Yep.
So we spoke about, Louis, and you just asked, we have put a little quick sort of taste tester teaser together for everybody.
Yeah.
It's really not scientifically valid or statistically correct, but for those of you as old as I am can remember back in the day, we used to love a good Cosmo quiz. We've created a sales GC Index Cosmo quiz for you, just to quickly get a little taster of potentially what your proclivities could look like. So Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Shan. So we've got 3 slides here with questions. Your answers are A, B, C, D, and E. The idea is to try and pick an answer that most closely resonates to your natural inclination or your natural energy. So the first question is, when you join a new sales team, what's the first thing you focus on? A, building strong relationships and understanding how the team works together. B, learning the process and making sure I know exactly what to do. C, understanding the bigger picture of where we're going and how sales fits into it. D, finding the ways to improve the current sales approach and polish the details. Or E, trying bold ideas and creative approaches that could set us apart from the competitors. So there might be more than one that resonates with you, but try and choose the one that you feel most closely resonates, A, B, C, D, or E. Second one, which statement sounds most like you in sales? A, people buy from people and relationships are everything. B, follow the system and you'll get the results. C, every deal is a step towards the bigger strategy and long-term success. D, details matter and small improvements make big differences. And finally, E, you win by doing what others don't dare to try. Louis, that sounds like you. And then the final slide. When given a brand new sales target, your first thought is A, who do I need to connect with to make this happen? B, okay, let's break this down into clear steps. C, what's the smartest way to approach this so it sets us up long term? D, how do we avoid mistakes and get this right in the first time? And E, what new angle could I try to smash this target? So A, B, C, D, or E, you might have a collection of A's or B's or C's. You might have a spread of ABCs. But as Shan said, this is our little Cosmo quiz. It's a little bit of fun. Shan, if you answered A, B, C, D, or E, what would that look like?
Super. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so looking at your responses for each of those three questions, if you got mostly A's, could you be a playmaker? So you bring people together, you're balanced, collaborative, and focus on relationships, making sure everyone feels included and part of the win. If you got mostly B's, could you possibly be an implementer? Direct, strong, and dependable. You like clear actions, getting things done, and moving sales forward with focus and consistency. If you got mostly C's, could you be a strategist? Purposeful, steady, future-focused. You see the bigger picture and make sure today's actions are purposeful. If you got mostly D's, could you be a polisher? Refined, detail-driven, high standards, you care about quality, and you're always looking for ways to improve things and raise the bar. If you got mostly E's, could you be a game changer? Bold, adventurous, disruptive, thriving on novel ideas, shaking things up, looking for new ways to win. Well, obviously, you're going to have to do the GC index to find out. But we just wanted to give you a little taster of potentially where you might show up in terms of your sales approach and starting to understand what are those things you would likely focus on. Is it relationships? Is it the bigger picture? Is it action? Because that's going to help you to understand when you're planning your sales and when you're executing your sales, where you focus on naturally.
Thank you, Shan. As we draw to an end this section on the GC index, and where it makes its impact, or where you can leverage the impacts in your sales game. We're going to look at other areas that can help you differentiate. But before we do, I'm actually quite curious to see what kind of audience are we working with? Where did most of you land? Steph, can you pull up that poll for us, please, if you don't mind? You'll see that poll will appear in the middle of your screen. You'll get the 5 options there that Shan spoke to. The one that possibly resonated with you, remember, this is just a probable outcome. Select it. Select the one that you believe you are or you are closest mapped to, and let's see where we land. What is the audience most inclined to be? So leading the charge with playmakers. Okay. We've got 31 responses so far. Quite a nice balanced spread. And interesting for me so far to see the polisher lagging. I know from my own sales experience, Louis, I think you can probably elaborate on this as well. Polishers are those people that pay attention to detail, they follow process. We've got one in our team who's a high performer, and when they get it right, they just absolutely raise the bar. They're always about innovation and improvement. But interesting to see that the majority are sitting around strategists, and then there's a fairly even spread between implementer, game changer, and playmaker. We've got 49 responses. I'm going to give it another minute or so. Maybe we can get closer to the previous target where we got 70 responses. And then
this is so interesting, you know, when you look at it. You know, myself, I'm a strategist game changer, and why I say that is, as Shane said, this is a Cosmo quick. There's 59 questions that you go through, and I can hear all the sales guys out there going, how the flip am I going to get through 59 questions? And it's quick. You get through it, but it's going to give you such great information on where you're actually sitting. And Shane, I think this for me was the breakthrough as well in this, you know. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, Louis. I think we always say the GC index is a revelation or a validation. So sometimes it's a validation. People are like, yep, that's me. That's definitely me. And
Yes.
Also why Cosmo quizzes don't always work is because often it's a revelation and people see their results and they're like, yeah, is that me? Could be me. And then when we talk about it and we get into it and, you know, into the journey of the GC index, we're like, yep, that's definitely me. And Louis, we probably should have mentioned on our backgrounds, you will be able to see each of our proclivities of the team. So Louis is the strategist, game changer. I'm the game changer strategist, and Mark's strategist implementer, just to give an idea of where our team sits.
Awesome. Thank you, team. Steph, I think we can close it now. Leading there was the playmaker and the strategist. And I think playmaker, you often find in sales, those people that can connect the dots. They can map out all the buyer stakeholder mapping is probably one of their key strengths amongst others. Thanks very much for that, Paul. You can close the window. And I'm going to share with you a little bit more about something else. Now that we've explored the GC index and we've seen the different ways in which we each create an impact, I would like to take a minute to look at 3 timeless qualities that every salesperson can control, regardless of your proclivity. These are the traits that make you the differentiator in the eyes of your buyer. So think about this. Buyers today have unlimited access to product information. I mean, like no other time before in history. And the research shows 3 simple but powerful differentiators: curiosity, consistency, and active listening. And I'm going to quickly share each of those 3 qualities now, because these are areas that can help you differentiate yourself as a salesperson when you're in front of buyers. So firstly, curiosity. This could be your competitive edge. According to a global SAS survey, 51% of managers say that curious employees are higher performers, and 59% affirm that curiosity drives real business impact. And remember that the GC index was about making an impact. And when we're in sales, we all want to be in that high-performing million-dollar club. So how can we apply it? The one what if or tell me more can uncover the deal-changing problem. At the end of this session, when we get the post-webinar email, there will be a couple of nuggets where we unpack some of these tools that go with these qualities that can help you apply them today to make a difference. I love this quote. I have no special talent. I'm only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. Fantastic. Then secondly, active listening. Louis, I know that in my off-air conversation chats with you, this has been an area that has been a gripe point of most sales leaders. And we've all been guilty of it, including myself. You're so quick to want to pitch the product or the solution without actually listening and understanding what the challenge is. According to Gong Labs, analysis of millions of sales calls revealed that the top sellers average a 43% talk to 57% listen ratio. So in other words, in sales, listen more than you talk. And this is the topic of next week's webinar. If you haven't registered yet, make sure you go and register, because this is one of the superpowers that you can develop that will help you unlock many more deals. If you can become a master of this particular skill and listen more than you talk, promise you now, you build trust and credibility very quickly. And then finally, consistency. Consistent salespeople who follow up as promised, show up prepared, and respond on time build trust and credibility. I think we've all had at some stage or another experienced people making unbelievable promises and they're not delivering on it, and sometimes not even responding or just completely ghosting you. And that is just, all the trust and credibility in that experience wanes. But if you're one of those salespeople who differentiates yourself by making sure that these are the things you commit to and you never break them, you will build trust and credibility. And we know that in sales, trust is our currency. Trust is the ultimate currency that will build that credibility with our people. Louis,
Yes.
I'm going to come back to you because we've heard this before. People buy from people, products shift.
Yep.
If I have to ask you, based on what I've just told you, because of your experience and having worked with many teams, which of these three qualities that I've just highlighted has made the biggest difference in closing sales? What would you say?
Oh, that's such a great question and such a vast question as well. And for me, at the end of the day, I think what's important is that people buy from people they trust. People buy from people that they actually sit and go, listen, I can take my hard-earned money and shift it over to this person because of that. And let me give you a little example. Who's ever bought a car? 4 years later, what do? You go and, let's say 4 years later, go and sell the car again because you want a new car. And then this is what happens. You pick up the phone and you phone Joe Soap. Hey, but you pick it up and you go, hi, I'd just like to speak to Joe Soap, please, because you're phoning the dealership. And they go, oh, Joe Soap doesn't work anymore. And you go, excuse me? Where does Joe Soap work now? And I've seen, why do people do that? Because I trust Joe Soap, who I bought my car from last. But now I sit there and I'm actually...
Louis,
yes, sir.
That's only if you've had a good experience. I think there's many that won't go back.
100% right. Trust. And what happens is you sit there and you go, hey, where's Joe Soap moved to? And I've actually, seen how people are willing to shift product because of the trust relationship that they've had. And this for me is one of the biggest things. If I listen well, but trust is it. Trust is such a huge behavior. And listen to this frightening little stats that I went and pulled up, and I was supposed to bring it up later, but I think let's just chuck it out there right now. And is that when you're looking at trust, 79% of clients say it's critical to deal with the salesperson they trust. 79%. It's critical to deal with the person they trust. All right. And again, product is product. That's why salespeople, when they move to a different company, but the product will always stay the product. 70% of loyal customers are more likely to buy again from a salesperson they trust. So in other words, if you want to increase your cross-selling, hey, get that person to trust you. And then the last one that I want to just throw out there from trust is that 90% of referrals come from satisfied customers who trust the salesperson. So in other words, if your clients are trusting you, they will refer you. And this is the other scary stat, is that most sales come from referrals. Now, I know the marketing people will hate me for this, Steph. We've got one of the best marketers in this country, and you may not take her or steal her from us. But here's the thing, is that marketing is great, but if you really want to increase your sales, you have to build trust. So the next question, Mark, and thank you for asking this, is how do we build this trust? How do we build this trust? So here are 5 habits that I'm quickly going to take you through, and just behaviors. Preparation and research. Guys, before you walk into the office of anybody, you have to first prepare. Go and do your preparation. Go and do your research on the company. Go and do your research on the people that you're going to see. Go do your research on the person you're going to see. I remember a few years ago, I remember this. I was interviewing a few people for a position. This one guy walked in. It blew my mind. Still to this day, I remember it. He walked in, and what he did was this. He greeted my receptionist. He greeted myself. He greeted the sales director, and he greeted the MD of the company by hand, and then he greeted them by name. He knew exactly who he was meeting. He knew exactly what it was about. And then what he didn't do is he didn't overtalk. He asked questions. He listened. But what he did right there was he built trust. So before you even walk into the office, prepare. That builds trust. The next thing that builds trust is discipline and consistency. And guys, I just want to quickly put this out there. No, Steph is not going to come work for you. I see Stephanie's name up there. Steph works for us. All right. The next thing that is so important when you're building trust is discipline and consistency. Guys, follow up. Stick to your process. All right. Process could be different for different people. All right. Because different people, you might get up at 8 o'clock, but only wake up at 10 o'clock. We all have a different way of how we actually process information, how we work. Each person's process is different, but process gets you through the difficult times. Process gets you through these times when you're sitting there and going, what's next? So I've worked with quite a few sports people as well, nationally and internationally. I've worked with quite a few golfers as well. And the one thing that I've always driven very strongly is the process, because what process does is it gives you controllables and it puts you into a space of this is what I can control. So in other words, it's like negotiation. I always say to people, if you go into negotiation not knowing what your negotiables and non-negotiables are, you're going to walk out of that negotiation the loser. All right, you always have to know what are my negotiables, and that is what something like when I'm sitting there, what process is. Process is that piece that says, this is what I'm controlling. All right, so discipline. So the first one, preparation, research, discipline, consistency. The third one is be customer-centric. Be customer-focused. All right, I saw Frank just now come up on this stuff there, and Frank said, that's why you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more, speak less. Well done, Frank. You're 100% right. Be customer-centric, be customer-focused. In other words, it's not about you, it's about them. What am I looking for? What's their point of pain? How do I sort that out? What can I do to help and assist you, Mr. Client? Your client must see you as part of their company at the end of the day. You must become a consultative person to them, that they actually see you as part of their organization. So that when they start speaking about you, they don't speak to you as Louis, that guy from Kwelanga. They speak to you as, hey, Louis, that specialist that we know that's going to help our company become that much more productive, that much more just engaging. So be customer-centric, be customer-focused, build that trust. And then the last two, the fourth one is adaptability. Who's ever been at that place where you're on booking form out? Come on, you all know what I'm talking about. The deal is done. You're already spending the money in your head. And the next moment, the oak just falls off the map, or the next moment something happens. And that's where I always go, is that when you're building trust, mostly that will not happen. But if it does happen, you must be able to pivot. And if you've got trust with your client, what you can do is find another way of engaging. Is it with WhatsApp? Is it with discussions? Is it with emails? So know how to adapt. And the last one, Mark, and then I'll get off my soapbox, is how do we build trust, is accountability. All right. And accountability is quite simply says this: own your results. Now, guys, we've all been there where, something goes pear-shaped, and then you sit there and you're like, I've done everything I can. I don't own, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it is what it is. But be accountable to your results. Be accountable to your results. Be accountable to what you're doing. My team already knows. I've got this saying: inputs determine outputs. If you have done everything you can do, everything, and the result is not necessarily what you were hoping for, it's okay. If you can sit back and go, hey, I've done everything I can do, because I know this customer trusts me. I've done it all. And then trust also, and next week we'll talk a bit more about that. Trust goes both ways. It goes client way, external, but it also goes internal client way. And for me, those are the behavior and habits that I will always sit back at and go: preparation, discipline, be customer centric and focused, be adaptable, and be accountable.
Awesome, Louis. Thank you. Thank you for packing it into such an energetic.
Sorry, I speak with my hands
sorry.
all over the show, don't I? I know it's terrible. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I'm going to bring it all back, and we're going to summarize it into that post webinar email. But for me, most of those things all point back to the original three that the research identified. Number one, curiosity. So if you are prepared to be curious and ask the questions, then you're going to go research. You're going to go and prepare your questions up front. You're going to be ready to find out more about the client. So be curious, for me, will always be one of those key foundational components to building trust. Secondly, you spoke about habits. You spoke about process. But I think both of those are meaningless unless you do them consistently. I can do my process today, but then I don't do it again for another week. Or I have this habit that I exercise today, but then when it gets tough, I don't. Consistency is absolutely key. And I saw somebody else mention it in the chat, and I saw it also come up on the word cloud right at the beginning. I think if you are consistent, that just speaks to persistence and resilience and all of those things to maybe getting you over the line. And then finally, Louis, I think there's another one that you didn't mention, but you slow down to speed up. Shane, I think we stole that from you.
We did.
And by that, I mean, listen. Just slow down and listen. Because listening and understanding the client will help you deliver that piece of extra customer service or unreasonable hospitality, another topic that we're going to talk about in the third webinar. And if you get those things right, curiosity, consistency, and listening, you are going to be a differentiated salesperson, and you're going to stand out from the crowd. Because I can promise you, people that don't do that don't build trust. Louis, thank you for sharing that. I know that we're coming into the final 10 minutes of the presentation, but we did want people to get a snapshot of the training needs analysis tool. So I'm going to pull that up, and you can maybe talk us through that, and then I'll share what a report looks like before I close off. So let me quickly find that slide to pull it up. Hopefully that should be appearing on the screen right about now.
Perfect. Right up there. So guys, this is the training needs analysis that we have got. It's exactly what it says. It's going to be looking at what are the areas that you are from a skills perspective are missing. What are the areas that are missing? But here's the main thing. There's training needs analysis many times that are very broad. What we have done at Kwelanga is we have built a training needs analysis specifically for sales. So you might be sitting here and going, where are my areas that I need to improve on? What are the areas? So what's going to happen is you will scan that QR code there, and it's going to bring up some questions. You're going to answer the questions, and it's going to give you the report that Mark will share with you now. But as I said again, I've been through all the years that I've done training and that I've been in the sales environment, and I've never seen a tool quite as sharp and as really specific to sales as this training needs analysis tool. So I want to encourage you, if you're sitting here maybe going, where are my areas that I would like to improve on? Go and do this training needs analysis. Now, again, the other side, I also want to say this to all my salespeople out there. This is not a tool to get you fired. All right. It's not a tool that you should be afraid of. This is literally a tool that's going to show you these are my areas that I need to work on. And because of these areas, now I know. You don't know what you don't know. One of my business gurus one day said to me, Louis, you don't know what you don't know. And it took a while to sink in. But this is what the training needs analysis is going to do in sales specifically. It's going to show you what are your areas, and then it's going to give you a magnificent report. And Mark, over to you. Show us that report, please.
Thank you, Louis. Yes, it's specific to sales. It's going to take you a couple of minutes to complete, probably 15 to 20 minutes. You can go through all the questions there. And then, just as a disclaimer, it is mapped to our sales program, the 10 steps of sales success, powered by the GC Index. But in essence, what you'll see is you'll get a graph like this. So Stephanie has very nicely laid out the process in how to access your report and the assessment in the post webinar email. So you can just follow those steps. It's also on the website, and then you just go and do the one that's specific to the 10 steps to sales success. But in the snapshot, you can see quite quickly that there are scores around the edge, and the scores are pertaining to each one of these particular areas that were assessed. So, for example, if I look at these two at the bottom, 46% and 46% apply to the pink and the yellow, the pink being sales communication and sales and qualification and client engagement. And here on the right-hand side, you will see a score interpretation. 0 to 40% needs significant improvement, 41 to 80% room for improvement, and 80% above showing a strong performance in that particular area. So you can go, when you get your report, it breaks it down into all 10 categories. You have a look and see which ones are you strong at, which ones do you need to grow in. But essentially, it gives you a nice snapshot of where you're currently at. And of course, all of these areas that are being tested are the areas that we cover in the sales program that I mentioned previously. So do yourselves a favor, go and get onto the website, or follow the links that will come after this in the email, and go and take an assessment. It comes straight to you, it gives you results, and you can then use that as you may. Louis, I don't know if you want to add anything in at this point before I wrap up and close.
No, I just want to say, guys, as you can see there, this salesperson, for instance, has got a bit of room for improvement, but it's giving you very specific room for improvement spaces. Yes, and then just before Mark wraps up, you cannot miss next week. Sorry, I can't not say this, because next week, how many of you have battled to close a deal and you sit and you think to yourself, why is this flippin' deal just not closing? And I want to say this to you. Many times the reason is we're not listening. All right. Listening well closes deals well. All right. And that will be next week. So Mark, just my little piece in there is that listening well closes deals well. And that's something we'll be focusing on next week. So thank you, guys. It was awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Shan. I think if you have any questions and you haven't already popped them into the chat, please do so now. We'll get to them and include them in that post webinar email. There'll also be a step-by-step guide on how to access the training needs analysis tool. And then finally, we will give you some of those nuggets and some tools to apply them so that you can differentiate yourself as a salesperson. So today, we hope that you've taken away something from the GC Index and what it is, as well as the qualities that can differentiate you. And then next week, as Louis mentioned, don't miss it. Listen your way to the sale. And it's about mastering those activities that we can harness to make that one of our superpowers. So with that, Louis, I see you've got your hand up.
And just one more thing, guys. Invite friends and invite other salespeople into it. All right. You don't have to have been in session 1 to be able to be in session 2 to be able to be in session 3. All right. So please invite people to come and be part of this. You've now experienced it. And remember what I said, that referrals, 90% of referrals come from satisfied customers. I really hope you're satisfied customers, and go and show that point to us. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Louis. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate your time and your insights. And also, well done on staying within time. I think we can give our audience 5 minutes back. they can get in at least one call, one sale before 11 o'clock. Thank you, Steph.
Mark, before you end, sorry, I see Vincent's asking when and what time next week. Am I right in saying same time, same place next week?
Yep.
100% correct. Thank you, Shane. Yes, same time, same place next week. And in fact, the third webinar, which is around unreasonable hospitality through storytelling, would be the final or the third Wednesday, the 17th, at the same time.
Yeah.
So all of that information will be in the email that you'll get, and appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming to join us. I hope that there's some nuggets that you can take away, and happy selling, everybody. Happy selling. With that, goodbye, everyone.
Cheers, cheers.